Chris King, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I want to hear the number one thing, not a list, but the top priority, the number one thing you could do as governor to either prevent or at least reduce the number of mass shootings.
Universal background checks. I think it's the most able to be done quickest. The fact that we have thousands and thousands of private sales across our state where folks don't have to receive a background check. I think this is a big deal. I think this is something we can change, and it can get bipartisan support.
A background check that looks for criminal convictions only, cases of mental illness, what would it include?
Absolutely. Well, I think the most important thing is obviously to look for criminal convictions, to really understand a person's record. But I think most people now are suggesting that there's more that we can do as it relates to really understand if somebody, for instance, and they're talking about it in Washington right now, has been Baker Acted. The fact that we are exchanging information and that local authorities are receiving that information and able to make decisions based on that.
Should we change the Baker Act? Law enforcement, sheriffs say they need more teeth in it.
I think it's something that I would look at very closely. But I think the fact that we live in a state right now where we're 50th in the nation in caring for the needs of the mentally ill, and there's been very little focus on mental health care and the issues like public safety that surround it, is something that my administration would take very, very seriously.
But the Parkland shooter got mental health treatment. Funding was not an issue there. The Vegas killer had no history of mental illness. Is there something else going on here?
Well, absolutely. And there's something that I've been talking about all across the state. I think universal background checks are a key thing. But I believe that there has to be a real conversation on banning and limiting access to these weapons that were designed for warfare.
You favor a weapons ban. Where do you draw the line? Would you ban all semi-automatic rifles?
I feel very strongly that semi-automatic rifles should not be accessible. And I think
all semi-automatic rifles.
That's right. And I believe that the first step in that process, a great first step that I think could get bipartisan support, is raising the age limit. Right now in the state of Florida, you have to be 21 to buy a pistol. But not a rifle.
Let's shift gears to other big issues. You're a lawyer. Did Florida make the right or wrong decision in suing Georgia over access to river water for Apalachicola Bay?
Sure. Well, I think they made the right decision. Florida sued the state of Georgia, and it will be decided by the Supreme Court, we believe, towards the end of this year.
Well, it's already been decided by the master. The Supreme Court's taking a look at it. The special
right.
master in this case said that Florida made the wrong decision because it sued the wrong people, not Georgia. It is the Corps of Engineers that makes these decisions, not the state government of Georgia.
Yes, and from what I can understand, Florida is going to change its action, and it's going to, in the legal profession, change its claim and who they sue. But I think there are some significant water issues that local officials and state officials have really got to address.
You want to help students repay college debt. You also want a free college system in Florida. Tell me how much that would cost based on your estimates.
Sure.
Who would pay for it? What would you cut, or what taxes would you raise to get there?
I want to bring free community college, state college, and trade school to Florida, modeled after the state of Tennessee. Some estimates would put this at about $130 million a year. But I believe this is the type of idea that could create a workforce that really lifts wages.
Which taxes or fees would you raise, or which programs would you cut to find that $130 million a year?
Sure. Well, this is not a tax and spend liberal. I have been an entrepreneur for the last 12 years of my life. I don't believe there's been a great sense of priority in Tallahassee about what we spend money on and the return on that investment. And so there are a lot of things, for instance, they're spending money on that I don't agree with. Take, for instance, last year we spent almost $130 million on charter schools, a competing system with Florida's public school system. We've spent tens and tens of millions of dollars in fighting legal battles in Tallahassee, paying outside lawyers to defend bad decisions that Tallahassee has made. I'm familiar with one of them because my father, David King, was the lawyer who led the Fair Districts movement and effort and had to sue the state of Florida over partisan gerrymandering over a multi-year battle. He won. The state paid millions and millions and millions of dollars in legal fees to defend a failing action and they lost.
Chris King, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.